Gurave Gaurachandraya Radhikaya Tadalaye Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tarabhaktaya Namo Namaha. I'm first of all offering millions and millions of Dandavat Pranams unto the lotus feet of my most beloved Gurudev, Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Asto Tarasara Shishimad Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj. And I'm offering the same millions and millions of times unto the lotus feet of our most beloved Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Asto Tarasara Shishimad Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, and all our Rupa Nuga Guru Vargya, and all the Vaishnava and Vaishnavi devotees of the Lord, my Dandavat Pranams. So yesterday we had a restful day. It was just Harigata and people recuperating after the vigorous journey to Kamyavan. And today is also a very gentle day. We're just walking up towards Radha-kunda from our Giridhari Gaudiya Math. And on the way, we'll have a breakfast prasadam first before we actually head off to our first parikrama place. And that's usually offered by one of Gurudev's disciples, just a little bit up the road from our Giridhari Gaudiya Math. And then after we finish that breakfast, then we cross over the road and go to one very beautiful place called Killola Kunda. After Killola Kunda, we'll go to Ratna-Simhasana, and after there we'll go to Syama-talaiya, and after there we'll go to Gvala, Pokara, and then we're going to go to Sarova. We actually went to Sarova the other day, but we were in a bit of a rush coming back from Uddhav-kunda and Radha-kunda, and there wasn't very much time to say much then. So we can sit there today at Sarova and hear a very beautiful conversation between Radha and Krishna. And then we'll cross over the road directly opposite from Sarova, walking back a little bit down again towards our Giridhari Gaudiya Math, walking south, and we'll come to Narada-kunda. And our dear Tapasvi Maharaj, he will discuss and tell the pastime of Narada-kunda. So the first place we're stopping today is Killola Kunda. And I'll just read what Srila Gurudev writes in his Parikrama book about this place, and then I'll say a little bit about it. This kund lies near Gvala, Pokara, to the south. Killola means sport or frolic. As its name suggests, this kund is where Radha and Krishna Yugal played in the sweet water. Krishna and his sakhas also enjoyed playful sports here. So all around Giriraj Govardhan are thousands and thousands of places where the sakhas and the sakhis would engage in their very sweet pastimes. Krishna comes in this incarnation to demonstrate his spiritual reality in the spiritual world, to demonstrate that aprakat lila. He brings his entire Vrindavan with him, certainly including Giriraj Govardhan. Sri Krishna is filled with bliss and joy and pleasure at every single moment. So he's demonstrating the types of pleasure that he relishes, particularly, of course, or practically exclusively, in his relationships with the sakhas and the sakhis, with his parents, with the elder gopas, with the elder gopis, with all the animals, the plant life, the trees, the Jamuna river, and of course Giriraj Govardhan himself. So these pleasurable pastimes are quite astonishing. Krishna and Balaram together, they create so many innovative games to play with the sakhas. Very simple, childlike pastimes that they engage in. And like we heard about Vyomasura, the sheep and the thieves stealing the sheep, etc. And all different games of this nature, where one boy perhaps would be blindfolded and then have to locate the other boys. And then they would play with balls. So many different sports they would engage in. Krishna was so happy to be freed from the constriction of his home with Nanda Baba and Yashoda. He would be most happy and joyous when he went out with the Sakas. But of course, when he was with the Sakas, he was always contemplating on eventually leaving the Sakas and coming to Radha-kunda, where he'd meet his dear most beloveds, especially Sri Radha. So Krishna is sporting with all the Sakas. It's described that Sridham, their affection for Krishna is so intense and high and special. It's described that Sridham, even in his dreams, he never lets go the hand of Krishna. And Subal, it's described that all night long he's praying for the moon to quickly finish its orbit so that again he can be with Krishna. When Krishna's taking the cows out or the calves out grazing, the cowherd boys, they're being dressed by their mothers, and they're telling their mothers urgently, quickly, Krishna's dying to see me. It's not entirely that they are of course dying to see Krishna, but they're most aware of Krishna's love for them. This is the tremendous attraction between this relationship. So these are the pleasures that Krishna relishes in Braj with his eternal associates. So this Killola Kunda, where we've come, is a repository of these types of pastimes. And it's described here that Radha and Krishna, they played within the water of this kund, all types of games and sports, even with the gopis. So these are very beautiful pastimes to remember with relish. How sweet are the relationships between Radha and Krishna and his sakas. So now we're going to leave Killola Kunda and we're going to go to Ratna-Singhasana. This is a little bit further up towards Radha-kunda. It's probably about 1.5 kilometers or 2 kilometers up before Kusum Sarova. And I'm going to read here what Srila Gurudev writes about this Ratna-Singhasana. So he writes that this Ratna-Singhasana lies 1 mile south of Kusum Sarova. So we're coming about 4 miles south from our Giridhari Gaudiya Math. So it's about 3 kilometers altogether of walking. So Ratna-Singhasana lies 1 mile south of Kusum Sarova on the Govardhan PARIKRAMA path, coming from Sri Radha-kunda. But of course we're coming the other way. The following pastime took place here. On the full moon day, after Shiv Chaturdarshi, Shivratri, Sri Krishna and Balaram were playing holy with the gopis, using syringes to squirt each other with water of many colors. The sweet sound of mridangas, cymbals, venas, and other instruments in Vashant Rag and other melodious rags filled the air. Srimati Radhika Ji sat down on a nearby Ratna Simhasana, jeweled throne. At that time, a servant of Kuvera named Sankachuda, who considered Bhagavan, Sri Krishna, to be an ordinary human being, tried to abduct these extremely beautiful gopis. In voices full of distress, the gopis began calling out, Ram, Krishna. Krishna ran to the call of the gopis with great speed and killed Sankachuda. He took the jewel from the demon's forehead and gave it to Sri Balaram, who sent it to Srimati Radhika Ji through Dhanishta. This is the place where Radhika Ji sat on the same Ratna Simhasana. So I'd like just to read from Ananda Vrindavan Champu this very brief, beautiful pastime of Sankachuda, just to open it up more visually for us. So this is from Ananda Vrindavan Champu, Srila Kavi Kanpur. Meanwhile, Balaram enjoyed throwing colours at his beloved gopis. At that time, a foolish demon named Sankachuda, a lowly yaksha servant of Kuvera with no sense of propriety, brazenly tried to rob the jewels of Balaram's gopis. As if called by death, he leaped in front of them. Sankachuda resembled a man delirious from the hot sun, leaping from a tall tree into the mirage of an oasis of cooling water produced by the rays of the sun. He appeared like a foolish grasshopper jumping into a fire while thinking it to be the effulgence of a forest of succulent herbs. He resembled a frog leaping at a snake in order to grab the jewel on its hood, or an antelope approaching a lion with the idea that its shining mane is a field of ripe grains. Kavi Kanpur's use of poetic imagery is astonishing. With the crest jewel firmly fastened to his turban, Sankachuda raised his arms and frightened the girls. Trembling like deer seeing a powerful wolf, the gopis cried out, "O Balaram, Krishna, please protect us." Before Balaram heard these painful cries, Krishna quickly stopped his holy pastimes and instantly went there. The yaksha fled in haste, but Krishna ran after him so quickly that his feet did not appear to touch the ground. Balaram, angry at the disturbance, also ran after him. Seeing heroic Krishna and Balaram in hot pursuit, the rascal hurled the dirtiest insults and discarded the jewels. Filled with anxiety, Sankachuda rapidly fled for his life, as if mounted on an airplane. Displaying intense anger, the demon roared while running away, and then he started shaking from exhaustion. As Krishna chased the demon wherever he went, he looked like the king of lions running down a regal elephant, or Garuda chasing a snake, or like a hawk pursuing a crow. That best of all men, who happily pleases his surrendered servants, grabbed the yaksha by the hair. Though Krishna's hand is as soft as a lotus, it becomes as hard as the back of a tortoise when he makes a fist. Using his fist, Krishna removed the wicked demon's head, along with his crest jewel. It was a high-quality, effulgent gem of fine workmanship, pleasing to look at and famous for its beauty. Feeling excessive delight, Krishna gave the jewel to his elder brother, as his consorts looked on. And Gurudev describes how Balaram, he gives the jewel out of affection to Madhumangal, and Madhumangal, he understands that this jewel is ultimately meant for Sri Radhaji. So he gives that jewel to Lalita Devi, and Lalita Devi gives that jewel in the hands of Sri Radhaji. So this is the very beautiful pastime, and this Ratna-Simhasana where we've come today is the place where Radha and Krishna were sitting, enjoying these beautiful pastimes of Holi. There's extensive descriptions in Ananda Vrindavan Champu also, as well as Gopal Champu, of these beautiful pastimes of Holi, when they would practically engage in warfare with each other, in a military type of a way, with all of their armies of Sakas and Sakis. They would engage together in Holi in a tremendous, enthusiastic way around all these areas where we're looking today, where we're traveling through, where we're walking through today. So we can remember all these love-filled, joyful pastimes as we make our way up towards Kusum Sarova. So Ratna-Simhasana Ki Jai. So now we're just going to come back on the road and walk just a little bit further, and we come to Shyam Kuti. And Gurudev describes this place is situated amidst a thick cluster of trees near Ratna-Simhasana. Here Sri Shyamsundar smeared his body with Shyam-coloured kasturi, musk, dressed himself in shyam-coloured clothes and ornaments, and entered a shyam-coloured nikunj. Even the gopis were unable to recognize him. When the gopis finally did recognize him, he performed many attractive leelas with them. A bhajani shila, which emits sweet sounds when tapped, is nearby. So again, these are more sweet Vrindavan pastimes that took place here between Krishna and the gopis, when Krishna would disguise himself. And when the gopis coming into this place, they couldn't see anything because Krishna was merging with the colors of that place, just like in Radha-kunda, where the different sakis have their kunjas in certain colors. And one of the sakis, she has her kunj completely in sapphire blue. So when Krishna is sitting in that kunj, no one can see him. And there's another, it's Vishaka's kunj, which is totally golden. And when Shri Radha sits there, no one can see her also. So these types of games and sweet pastimes are continually being performed by Krishna and his sakas and his sakis. So this is Sham Kuti. And now we come out again from this pastime place onto the road again, and we walk a little distance, and we come to this very beautiful place of Gvala, Pokara. And Gurudev describes that this is beautiful, thick trees and creepers surrounding this charming pastime place near Shamkuti. At the time of cowherding, Sri Krishna used to rest here at noon. The young cowherd boys, Gvala Balas, lovingly serve Krishna in Sakya-ras and playfully snatch things away from each other. These and other sweet, charming pastimes have made this Gvala Pokara very famous. So again, this is a beautiful place of Krishna's pastimes with his sakas. Sri Krishna, in the guise of a young priest, performed Srimati Radhika's Surya Puja at Surya-kunda with Batu Madhu Mangal. After completing the puja, they sat down here with the sakas. Madhu Mangal was carrying Manohar ladus and a gold ring which he had received as dakshin. He had painstakingly tied them in his cloth and was guarding them vigilantly. The mischievous Balaram asked Madhu Mangal, "Bhai Madhu Mangal, what is this bundle of yours?" "Nothing," Madhu Mangal hesitatingly answered. Baladevji signaled to the sakas, some of whom caught hold of Madhu Mangal's 2 hands. One saka covered Madhu Mangal's eyes with his palms, and another forcibly snatched the bundle from his hands. Laughing loudly, they shared the ladus amongst themselves and proceeded to eat them right in front of Madhu Mangal. In this commotion, Madhu Mangal's cloth loosened, and he became very angry and held out his sacred thread, ready to curse Balaram, Sridham, and the other sakas. Somehow or other, Krishna pacified him, and finally Madhu Mangal, also beginning to laugh, asked the sakas for some of the remaining crumbs. This Gvala Pokara still carries reminders of these leelas. While doing parikrama of Giriraj Govardhan, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took rest here for a short time and remembered these pastimes. So we can immerse our consciousnesses in the sweetness of Krishna's playful, joyful pastimes with his sakas in all of these places where we're going this morning. And also, the gopis are never far away, so their pastimes are also interwoven at different intervals. But now we're going to visit Kusum Sarova, and here there's a beautiful conversation between Krishna and Radhaji that Gurudev describes in the Parikrama book. Kusum Sarova is very, very close to Radha-kunda. This is where Krishna, he would, just before Kusum Sarova, Krishna, playing with the cowherd boys who loved him more than their life breath, he would go behind a tree, perhaps sometimes with Madhumangal, sometimes maybe alone, sometimes also with Subal. And the Sakas would just be like frozen in time, waiting for him to step out the other side of the tree. But in fact, 5 hours would pass by, and then he would step out from the other side of the tree. Meanwhile, the Sakas had been spellbound by Yogamaya, just simply waiting for Krishna to return. So Krishna never disturbed their hearts by letting them know that he was leaving them and going to spend time with Radhaji and the Sakis. Their hearts would be filled with affection for Krishna, and if Krishna left in the middle of the day, then this would be tumultuous for the Sakas. So Krishna, by different arrangements of Yogamaya, was always able to slip away and spend time with the Sakis at Radha-kunda. I described previously in this Madhyana Leela, this Madhyana Yama. It's 5 hours in duration. And Krishna, he spends a total of 12 hours of the day in the company of Sri Radha and the Sakis. And the other 12 hours a day is with the Sakas and Nanda Baba and Yashoda and the cows. So now Srila Gurudev describes Kusum Sarova. He says this Sarova is situated on the right-hand side of the Parikrama path. This is if we're coming down from Radha-kunda, it's on our right. But today it's going to be on our left because we're coming up from this Gvala, Pokara and Shyamkuti. We're walking up towards Radha-kunda. So today it's on our left. It's situated on our left-hand side today, about 1.5 miles southwest of Sri Radha-kunda. A Kusum Van, a forest of flowers, was here, full of varieties of trees, creepers, flowers, like Beli, Chameli, Juhi, Yuti, Malaki and Champak. Sri Radhika used to come here on the pretext of picking flowers with her girlfriends, but her real intent was to meet Rasik Sri Krishna, with whom she would have love quarrels, Keli Kalaha, and sarcastic exchanges full of rasa. Krishna Bhavanamrita describes how one day Srimati Radhika was picking flowers here with her girlfriends when Krishna arrived. The following exchange took place between them. Of course, we're remembering that they're just very young, teenage children. They have the liberty of children. They have the freedom of children, even though they have these rich, mature bhavs and moods of affection for each other, so significantly deep. Still, they are in the atmosphere or in the bodies of young teenage children, just to increase the height of these sweet exchanges. So Krishna is saying to Radha, "Who is there?" Radhaji replies, "Nobody." Krishna, "Tell me honestly who you are." Radhaji, "Nobody." Then Krishna says, "You are speaking in a very crooked way." Radhaji, "And you speak in a very straight way, don't you?" Krishna, "I am asking you who you are." Radhaji, "Don't you know?" Then Krishna says, "What are you doing?" Radhaji, "Picking flowers for Surya Puja." Krishna says, "Have you received permission from anyone?" Radhaji, "I don't need anyone's permission." Krishna, "Aho, I have caught a thief today. I was wondering who was completely ruining our garden by stealing flowers. Today I've apprehended you and will immediately punish you." Then Radhaji responds, "Since when have you become the owner of this flower garden? Have you ever sown a single plant here? Have you ever watered one? On the contrary, you ruin this Kusum Van with your hundreds and thousands of cows and wild, insolent friends. Indeed, since when have you become the caretaker of this garden?" Krishna replies, "Don't defame a pious, righteous person like me. Now I shall teach you a good lesson." Radhaji smilingly replies, "Aha, You are a highly pious and religious person, are you? You killed a woman right after your birth. You lied to your mother even in childhood. You stole butter from the houses of the neighboring gopis, and when you became a little older, you stole the clothes of the young gopi girls. Only a few days ago, you killed a calf. This is the extent of your pious saintly conduct. Hearing the retort, Krishna scratched his head and looked towards clever Madhumangal, who advised him, one's well-being lies in remaining quiet. At this point, all the Sakis surrounded Shyam Sundar and began to clap. The following pastime also took place here. One morning, Srimati Radhika and her Sakis arrived on the bank of Kusum Sarova to pick fragrant flowers that bloomed here in abundance, such as Beli, Chameli, Juhi, Chanera, and Champak. Seeing a branch full of flowers, Srimati Radhika pulled it down with one hand and started picking its flowers with the other. Knowing that Srimati Radhika was coming to Kusum Sarova to pick flowers, playful Krishna had climbed that tree and had stationed himself on that very branch. Using all his weight to push that branch down, he had hidden himself in the foliage so that Srimati Ji would not see him. Srimati Radhika became absorbed in picking flowers from the branch when Krishna suddenly shifted to another branch. At once, the first branch sprung up, lifting Srimati Radhika with it. The startled Srimati Radhika cried out for help. Sri Krishna immediately leapt from the tree and caught the hanging Srimati Ji in his arms. Seeing this, the Sakis began clapping and laughing loudly. But Srimati Radhika Ji, having released herself from Krishna's embrace, began to scold him. Gurudev completes his commentary on this very beautiful pastime place where these sweet leelas were performed with a description of the present situation. Gurudev writes, "Now the flower garden at Kusum Sarova has completely disappeared. In 1767, Maharaj Javara Singh of Bharatpur looted the royal treasury of Delhi, and with that money built ornate stone ghats with steps down to the water's edge. To the west of the Sarova is a cenotaph of Raj Suraj Malla, flanked by two cenotaphs of his two queens. There is a temple of Uddhavaji here." So this is the description. Most of us have been there at different times and are familiar with the ornate display of these tombs, which look very attractive to the eye as we pass by. So Kusum Sarova Ki Jai, but the devotees of course are always remembering the sweetness of how this place previously looked. Obviously Srila Gurudev is remembering that sweetness of the beautiful forest that was here, filled with flowers. So Kusum Sarova Ki Jai. So now we're going to go to Narada-kunda, which is on the other side of the road, and we're heading back now towards our Giridhari Gaudiya temple, and our dear Bhaktivedanta Tapasri Maharaj will tell us the pastime of Narada-kunda. Giriraj Govardhan Ki Jai, Anantakota Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai, Gaur Premanandi, Hari Hari Bol.
All glories to Sri Guru and Gauranga. Now we have come to Narada-kunda. We've just come maybe 400 meters from Kusum Sarovara here to Narada-kunda, where Narada performed austerities. There are many teachings here in this glorious pastime where Narada heard the glories of Gopi Bhav, which is the exalted moods of the gopis. He heard this from Vrinda Devi, who is the presiding deity of Vrindavan, and she gives entrance into Vrindavan. She arranges everything for Jugal Kishore, Radha and Krishna, along with Purnamasi Jogamaya. Just as the yogic Brahmins' wives, they heard about Krishna from the gardener and developed immense greed to meet Krishna because their husbands were performing the yajna and did not have this greed. So one may wonder, well, where did they develop this greed from? And this greed to meet Krishna came from the gardeners that they had associated with. And they had met them in the forest and they spoke to them about Krishna. So the yogic Brahmin wives developed this greed. In a similar way, that Narada, he heard from Vrindadevi and he developed an intense greed by hearing the beautiful Parikramma rasa of Radha and Krishna. And this greed was an intense desire to lovingly serve Radha and Krishna as a gopi in their most elevated amorous pastimes. This arose in Narada's heart. Similarly, when a devotee is repeatedly hearing, reading and speaking about the bhav and sevas of Sri Radha's manjaris, deep impressions, bhakti samskars, of their moods and qualities will form in the mind. As these impressions accumulate, the sadhaka will identify more and more with Radhika's sevadasis and then naturally hanker to attain a spiritual form, a siddha deha, to lovingly serve Sri Radha for evermore. So Narada heard from Vrindadevi and developed this greed. There's a question that may come up: how does one develop this greed for Raganuga? First of all, let us understand what is sadhana. Sri Rupa Goswami says sadhana means practicing to serve Sri Krishna with the senses to attain the goal of bhav bhakti. Kriti sadhya bhavat sadhya bhava sa sadhana dibhida. This is from Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. There are two types of sadhana, devotion in practice. Namely, there's one which is Vaidhi and Raganuga. Ultimately, there are so many misconceptions about these two types of sadhana bhakti. Some say that Raganuga bhakti begins at the stage of Nishta, Ruchi, or even Bhav. However, there's no evidence of this in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Bhakti Sandarbha, Madhurya Kandambini, or Rag Vartma Chandrika. Although it is not true, some also say that Raganuga bhakti comes at the stage of Vaidhi sadhana bhakti, after the stage of Vaidhi sadhana bhakti. This is also incorrect. There's no guarantee that a Vaidhi sadhak will automatically be promoted to Raganuga bhakti. Srila Rupa Goswami Pad does not agree with either. Rather, he says the only cause of obtaining the greed to begin Raganuga bhakti sadhana is mercy, the compassion of Krishna or his devotee. He quotes in his Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Krishna tadbhakta karuna matra labhaika. And when and from where will this greed come from? Again, Rupa Goswami, he answers this. He says, even 10 million lifetimes of following regulative principles, which is Vaidhi Bhakti, will not give you a taste for Krishna Bhakti. The only price to attain it is greed. Wherever you can find it, you should buy it immediately. Krishna Bhakti Rasa Bhavita Mati, this verse in Padyavali. Where can you find it? You can find it wherever advanced devotees are speaking Radha Krishna Katha. So go and listen there. Hear with an eagerness and a submissive mind and heart. Then you will obtain the divine greed. to taste pure Krishna bhakti. So at what stage of sadhana bhakti, sadhusanga, bhajana kriya, anartha nivriti, can one begin raganuga bhakti? Question is posed, and Srila Vishnavat Chakravarti Thakur, he answers, greed to follow the path of rag bhakti begins when one surrenders to Guru. This means the stage of sadhusanga and taking initiation. And then later on, Srila Vishnavat Chakravarti Thakur says Raganuga Bhakti starts at the stage of Anartha Nivriti, which forms the beginning platform of sadhana bhakti, along with sadhusanga and bhajana kriya. And Srila Vishnavat Chakravarti Thakur, he continues and says that now I will describe how Raganuga Bhakti gradually advances through the stages of Anartha Nivriti to Nishta, Ruchi, Prem. So old devotees, those who are practiced on this path, will start and continue their practice of Raganuga Bhakti sadhana maybe from day one of surrendering to Sri Guru. And new devotees, they will start shortly after surrendering to a Raganuga Guru and becoming properly qualified. In other words, one can begin the practice of either Vaidhi sadhana or Raganuga Bhakti sadhana at the stage of Anartha Nivriti. The difference between a Vaidhi sadhak and a Raganuga sadhak lies not in personal purity, but in their mood, motivation to serve Krishna, and their greed to taste Krishna bhakti. So that is the main difference in their mood. And Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Maharaj, Guru Maharaj, he says, it should not come without relying on any reasoning. If reasoning is required, it is not greed. Then he says that, what is the next consideration? He says, when greed comes, how does one achieve his desired result? It comes by the association of Raganuga Rasik Vaishnavas. In that association, one reads Ujjvala Nilamani, Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, especially Rag Vartma Chandrika. All these books that one will read. And how can I easily achieve this mood? Then somehow or other he thinks by hook or by crook. Somehow or other by reading these, this greed will come. What is the easiest method to get this? This should be the question that Maharaj is saying. He says, this is our question. All of our acharyas, including Vishnavat Chakravarti Thakur and Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur, have recorded for us in a practical way how they themselves achieved it and how the sadhana siddha gopis achieved it. Their writings are authentic. One will search out their methods in Shastra and follow the methods discussed therein. Because without following Shastra, without following the guidelines of Srila Rupa Goswami, one will become a sahajya or atheist. So a person with greed will never judge his qualification. This is the main point. That rather he will take assistance from these books. And even Srila Vishnavat Chakravarti Thakur may not be personally present, but he is present through his books. It's important to understand that this greed will not come by personal effort alone. It comes only by the grace of Krishna himself and by the grace of a Raganuga Bhakta. Without their mercy, without the mercy of those Vaishnavas, then one cannot have it. Bhakta Kripa, the mercy of the Vaishnavas. So that mercy may come, is of two kinds. Praktana, from previous lives, and Adunika, from this life. Praktana refers to mercy that comes from past births, as well as the present birth. If a man has samskaras from his previous births, devotional activities, and receives the mercy of a Vaishnav in this birth, he will very quickly and easily advance in bhakti. So this is a explanation of the qualification to enter into Raganuga and how is this greed developed. This greed is developed by association of such Vaishnavas, Raganuga Vaishnavas. So similarly in this story with Narada Muni, he met Vrinda Devi, and from hearing from her, this greed developed in his heart. Also, Narada, he received the Gopal mantra from Brahma and began to perform meditation and worship here in Narada-kunda on the path of Rag Marg, which is the path of spontaneous attachment in the wake of the gopis. So the importance of Diksha, the Diksha mantras are very, very powerful and are given by Sri Guru for two different reasons actually. To clear and remove all previous bad tendencies and commitments to illusion. Because the disciple at once begins a new life awakened in divine knowledge by this process of Diksha. By Diksha, Gurudev mercifully slackens the bondage of Maya, infuses transcendental energy into the disciple's heart via the mantra, and awakens an awareness of one's eternal relationship with Sri Hari. So what special power and wisdom does the most powerful and wonderful Gopal mantra, or the Krishna mantra, contain? This is the mantra that Narada received from Brahma, the Gopal mantra. Jiva Goswami, he explains, Divyam Jnanam Srimati Mantre Bhagavat Swarup Jnanam Bhagavata Sambandha Vishvesh Jnanam. Two types of divine wisdom are received from this beautiful Diksha mantra, the Gopal mantra. Knowledge of Krishna's form and identity, that means Bhagavat Swarup Gyan, and knowledge of one's special and specific relationship with Krishna. This is from the Bhakti Sandarbha of Jiva Goswami. This is why Narada received the Diksha mantra from Brahma. At the time of initiation, Sri Guru gives mantras to the disciple which eventually reveal the form, qualities and Vraj Madhurya Leelas of the disciple's cherished Ishtadev, Radha Krishna. In addition, Gurudev teaches the disciple the ways to worship, to unfold their eternal spiritual identity, seva, and sweet personal loving relationship with Radha and Krishna. In the Brihat Bhagavatamrita, Srila Sanatana Goswami clearly establishes the phenomenal power of Diksha mantras received from Sri Guru. He narrates how a Vrajavasi cowherd boy named Gopakumar received Diksha into the Gopal mantra during a brief meeting with a wandering mendicant. The Guru then immediately disappears, leaving behind only one instruction: chant your Diksha mantra constantly. Just by the power of that Diksha mantra, Gopakumar, he traveled all over the universe, met many Shiksha Gurus, and eventually he attained spiritual perfection in Krishna Prem and the spiritual world, Golok, all by this power of this Diksha mantra. In one place, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, Prabhupada, has written a book of rules and regulations of deity worship, and that's called Archana Dipika. And there he's explained that Harinam is Bhagavat Swarup, the actual form of Krishna and Radha. And for this reason, it has been stated in the Sri Shikshastikam, Param Vijayate Sri Krishna Sankirtanam, that by chanting and remembering Krishna's names, all kinds of perfection, like Vraj Prem and even Radha Dasya, means becoming a maidservant of Srimati Radhika, all this can be attained. In the first stage, however, now he's talking about the first stage, when a devotee is uttering the holy name, he is full with many aparadhas, and also anarthas, such as laya, sleep, distraction, vikshepa, and indifference or disinterest in spiritual topics, apratipati. He says it is guaranteed that such a person cannot utter the pure name. Rather, his chanting will be Nam Abhas. Chanting the pure name is only possible after the Diksha Samskars. And also Jiva Goswami, he explains in his Bhakti Sandarbha that Diksha is the process by which one can awaken his transcendental knowledge and vanquish all reactions caused by sinful activity. A person expert in the study of the revealed scriptures knows this process as Diksha. That is quoted from the Chaitanya Charitamrita. Also, Srila Prabhupada explains that. So Gurudev says the Gayatri Mantra gives all kinds of Divya Gyan, transcendental knowledge, including the knowledge of Krishna Tattva and Jiva Tattva, and also gives a relationship with Krishna. Nam alone will not give this relation to the person filled with anarthas. All of our acharyas, from top to bottom, have stated that in order to purify us from our sinful actions and to clear offenses, which is the stage of anartha nivriti, so that we can develop the ability to chant the pure name, we must accept Diksha Vidhan, which means the process of initiation. Diksha, Di means Divya Gyan, or realized knowledge of our relationship with Krishna. Sha is the washing away of all sins, aparadhas, and other impurities. For this, Diksha Vidhan is essential. Without Diksha Samskar, one's relationship with Krishna, that we described as Sambandha Gyan, cannot manifest and one cannot chant Shuddhanam. So it is essential to accept Diksha. And there's a verse also in Sri Hari Bhakti Vilas as bell metal, which is what is bell metal? It's a mixture of copper and tin. As bell metal becomes gold by mixing with mercury, similarly, the process of Diksha initiation, a person, by the process of Diksha initiation, a person becomes a Brahmin. So bell metal turns into gold by the help of the element mercury in an alchemical process. Similarly, by this element, the process of Diksha, our chanting of the holy name will become pure, otherwise it's not possible. If there is no necessity to accept Diksha mantra, then why did Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur take second initiation from Srila Gorakishore Das Babaji Maharaj? And why did he give initiation to all of his disciples? And Srila Sridhar Maharaj Goswami also took Diksha from him. If there's no necessity, why did Srila Prabhupada Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur give Diksha initiation? And why did his disciples accept it? And of course, not only that, Brahma received Kama Gayatri and Gopal mantra from Krishna himself. And Brahma, as we're hearing here, then gave the Diksha mantra to Sri Narada. And Narada, of course, he gave it to all of his disciples. And Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took initiation from Ishvara Puripad, who gave him Harinam, and to purify that chanting of name, he gave him the Gopal mantra. So Gopal mantra is transcendental and ever-existing, and it gives relationship with Krishna as Gopi Jana Vallabha. So after meditating on the Diksha mantras he received from Brahma, practicing the Rag Marg, the path of spontaneous attachment for Radha Gopi Jana Vallabha, in the mood of the gopis, after a long time of doing this, because Narada was there quite some time, it's not so easy to hold the divine forms in our mind. In essence, well, in our heart. In essence, actually, Raganuga Bhakti is a mental religion, a manodharma, in the sense that Diksha mantras are practiced within the mind, within the heart, in silence, in meditation, in dhyan, smaran, remembrance. And this is not so easy, and that's why this path of Raganuga Bhakti, although very attractive, is not so easy, because it's very much an internal remembrance, a focus, and a holding of the forms of Guru, Mahaprabhu, Radha and Krishna, and meditating. Shastras state that within Vedic mantras one will discover the form, qualities and pastimes, that's the Rup, Guna and Leela of the Devata, described within the syllables and meter of that mantra. For example, if we look at the Kam Gayatri, one will discover the form of Krishna, and after some time, the sadhak will see the transcendental Kamadev in his heart and feel sweet sentiments for Kamadev, Sri Krishna, in his mind while chanting the mantra. And then, if Krishna's mercy manifests, the sadhak will see Srimati Radharani, along with her eternal beloved consort, Shyam Sundar. Eventually, the mantra chanting will bring the qualities and pastimes of Radha Govinda into one's heart too. To properly chant the Kam Gayatri, one should visualize the transcendental form of Sri Krishna and contemplate the meaning of the Kam Gayatri as revealed by Gurudev. Sri Krishna, within the recesses of the sadhak's heart, he purifies the heart. In fact, there's a beautiful description by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He defines the Kam Gayatri and gives a perfect Krishna meditation for the sadhak to use while chanting. This is from the Chaitanya Charitamrita. He's speaking to Sanatana Goswami. Kam Gayatri mantra is the personal divine form of Bhagavan Sri Krishna. Kam Gayatri mantra rupa haya Krishnera svarupa. In other words, the mantra and root are one. There is no difference between the words of Kama Gayatri and the form of Krishna. So when you chant the Kama Gayatri, you should see the form of Krishna while meditating on the meaning of the mantra. And Mahaprabhu, he continued and he says, O Sanatan, Kamadev, Sri Krishna's lovely sweet face, his elongated reddish lotus eyes, his beautiful curly locks of hair, the Chandan Bindu Tilak on his forehead, the Makara Kundala earrings on his shining cheeks, and his playful, seductive smiles, fragrant as honey, all combine to create a constant festival for the eyes. The transcendental body of Krishna is sweeter than an ocean of sweetness. Krishna's divine form is an ocean of the sweetest nectar. That's from the Chaitanya Charitamrita. So we've discussed so far two teachings. One is the greed, how is that developed? And now we've just discussed the importance of Diksha, because Narada took Diksha from Brahmaji, Gopal mantra, before starting his dhyan meditation. After doing this for some time, Jogamaya Purnamasi dipped Narada in Kusum Sarova, by which he received the form of a gopi. Thereafter, he received the Ekadasha Bhav, and these are the 11 features that constitute one's true identity in the path of spontaneous attachment. What are those Ekadasya bhavs? This is described in Jaiva Dharma, and I'll just read these 11 bhavs. That means when one attains their siddhadeha, pure, their transcendental spiritual form, that naturally these Ekadas, these 11 bhavs, are simultaneously there as well. 1. This is from Jaiva Dharma, chapter 39. Vijay Kumari asks, kindly explain these Ekadasa bhavs to me thoroughly once again. So Sri Guru Goswami, Gopal Guru, he explains. These Ekadasa bhavs are 1. Sambandha, relationship. 2. Vayasa, age. 3. Nam, name. 4. Rupa, personal form and beauty. 5. Yuta, group. 6. Vesha, dress. 7. Agna, specific instruction. 8. Vasa, residence. 9. Seva, exclusive service. 10. Parakshasta svasa, the highest summit of emotion, which is the aspirant's very life breath. And Palya Dasi Bhav, the sentiment of a maidservant under the protection of Sri Radha. We remember when Shivji was sitting in the VRAJA-MANDAL and the Ras Leela was going on, and the gopis, they were feeling that the Ras was not lifting to its highest level, and there must be somebody here who is disturbing that. And Shivji, who had been dipped in Brahmakund by Purnamasi, was not given specific information about his age, his group, his dress, his seva, whose his parents are. And so therefore he was slapped by the gopis because they knew that actually this was an intruder, because this Ekadasya bhavs hadn't been given to him by Purnamasi. So these topics are very important, and we hear by the being under the guidance of a Rupanuga Guru, all this is revealed to the sadhak. So here at Narada-kunda, Narada Gopi, the deity, is here. So we offer our heartfelt Dandavat pranams to Narada Gopi and beg that this greed may also become like a fire in our hearts. Now we are going back to Giridhari Gaudiya Math for noon prasad. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhi vayevacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha.